Welcome to the Play Cousins podcast, a dose of healthy conversations with your Play Cousins. A dose of healthy conversations with your Play Cousins. Welcome to the Play Cousins podcast.
Hello, party people. How y'all doing?
Hey. Doing great. How are y'all?
Yes. Well, listen, I want to welcome a special guest. But before we get into who our special guest is, everybody welcome to our show. But also, I want to take a quick moment to offer our condolences to the Braxton family. Tracy Braxton passed away yesterday from cancer. I'm, pretty sure that's a huge shock to the family. And we just want to send positive vibes, prayers up to that family and anybody else who's going through things right now. So we did want to just take that moment to say that. So also, y'all know why Kevin Samuels, I think, actually said he was going to sleep through this entire month of March.
Yeah. Because this has to be his worst time of year.
It's History Month. And he is dead set on believing women have no history. So shout out.
So like most racist white people slept through February.
Yeah.
Right? Through Black History Month. So now it's the anti-womanist woman hating men's turn for this month.
Exactly. He said check for him on April Fool's Day, okay?
Because that's what he is.
Right. That's what
he is.
That's his time.
That's his day.
Jazz coming out the gate with the swings and the jabs out here for it.
Night.
Okay. Listen, last season, I think I did when I did one of the topics, I think we kind of talked about this infatuation that a lot of men have with humbling Black women. I think we specifically talked about Black men and the infatuation that they have with humbling Black women. And so, because they keep trying it, I figured in this season, we could do a sequel to that. This is 2.0. These men got to go. Okay? So listen, normally we don't really talk about topics or we talk about topics, but we don't normally talk about the things that we want to talk about on the show because we, of course, want the conversations to be authentic and kind of like off the brain. But I took a bit of a departure from that because I wanted to ask a question and I wanted us to be prepared to answer that question so we could really think about it, but be on the show now and be able to answer that question. So the question that I text everybody to think about was, because we are, in this show, we are talking about these Black men who are using the social media or podcasting space, media platforms to essentially distribute hate about Black women and violent hate speech, disregarding Black women, devaluing Black women, and essentially trying to mask it as a preference. So we are specifically talking about that today, but I wanted to send the question to everybody to say, the question was, what is a significant memory of a Black man working hard to belittle your career, your interests, or you in general? So I really wanted to start with that. Well, actually, hold on. I'm messing up. I didn't even talk about, I started to say I'm going to start with the guest, but I didn't even introduce the guest. Okay. Let me back that ass up. Okay. So our guest here is Jamaica or J.R. Baker Flowers. That's what you're going by on here. Okay. I see you switch. All right.
I mean, gotta stick to the branding culture, which by the way, since I just have it here, bam, that's my book.
Yes.
That's my nom de plume. That's my business name. But go ahead, Jeff.
So let's talk about you really quickly. I mean, I know you so well because we share DNA. We
know each other for a little bit,
It's just been maybe 30 some years. That's it.
30-ish.
Something. Leave it at
like
something.
That.
Just tell everybody who you are, what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank y'all so much for having me. My name is Jamaica Baker Flowers, or J.R. Baker Flowers, which is my business name. And I am the founder and the director and the creator and the sole proprietor of the Unlearning Project, LLC. And essentially, this is my baby. And what I do, what the Unlearning Project is really about, the mission, the goals, and the intent is to create, to develop educational resources, as well as create original multimedia content that is centered on and provides capacity building tools and resources to actually unlearn, deprogram through many different channels of racism, sexism, homophobia, and transphobia. And so all of that is so relative to this topic that we're going to really be diving deeply into today. And so I'm happy to be here.
Yes, we are happy to have you. Part of the reason I wanted my sister on this show is because when I say I'm my sister and I have like 3-4 hour conversations, and just the other day we were talking about all of these issues and like really understanding that there is real hate culture towards Black women. And it's seemingly, I mean, people are calling it out. I'm not acting like people aren't, but the fact that it continues is kind of like, what in the hell? So I jumped the gun a little bit and didn't introduce our guest, my sister, but I want to bring it on back around and just talk about. I'm going to go into that question that I sent everybody again so that we can get back on target. But I'm just so ready to talk about this. I couldn't wait. But
I mean, one of my favorite things ever in life, I think a part of my soul's mission is to pour myself a nice, hot, steaming cup of let's eviscerate men today, because they need it. And not males, because there's a difference. Yeah, there's definitely a difference. And we're going to get into that. But go ahead, Jen.
And so the question was, what is a significant memory of a Black man working hard to belittle you, your career, your interests, etc.? So I'm going to take this to our guest first for you to answer the question.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't have any one particular or like unique memory that stands out to me. Honestly, throughout my life, men, especially male friends, co-workers, and some men that I have dated, it's difficult to describe, but like one friend in particular, and this is when we were like late teenagers, early 20s, first in college, like 20 years ago, would say things to me like, "You're doing too much. You got too many aspirations. You got too many goals. You need to pull that back a little bit." And I'm just thinking like, what does that mean? And would also follow up by saying, "You're gonna chase the men away."
Yeah.
Which would always leave me really baffled and confused. Like, how is aspiration a negative, right? And I have found that kind of mindset, happens amongst a lot of different groups of men, a lot of different ethnicities and cultural groups of men, socioeconomic levels of men, etc. And in the early part of my life, like early 20s, teenage years, I would always be so infuriated by it, because anger and rage are sort of like my initial reactionary responses. Through meditation, I have learned to just detach. Like, I'm trying to tell y'all, if it wasn't for meditation over a decade ago, I would probably be in somebody's jail, and there will be a lot of people not still amongst the living, because I likes to take it there. But that level of disrespect, saying like, because of who I am innately, is somehow problematic. And like my goals, my aspirations, like what I want to achieve in life, my instinct drive to like just go hard and to accomplish things, because I'm motivated by doing amazing things in this life is somehow inherently wrong because I was born with a womb.
Yeah.
That doesn't click for me, and it didn't click for me then. It doesn't make sense to me today. But I mean, it's difficult to think about one specific memory. But just that whole idea that because I'm a woman, I'm born female, that I should lower or lessen my qualities or the goals that I have in order to appeal to a wider variety of males in the society and make myself a lot more appealing. Basically dilute myself so that I can be more embraced or accepted by the male society,
right.
Which makes no sense. But all of that is centered and is rooted in these antiquated Abrahamic, Judeo-Christian ideologies that really promote and perpetuate this misogyny culture, right? Like you literally have these scripture in the Bible, in the Quran, and any of these really like old alleged sacred texts that say that, I mean, right out the gate, a woman was created from a man.
Literally never.
Biological. It's a biological impossibility,
exactly.
Bro. Like it's like I mean that's a cute story. If like I love fiction, right? Like I love sci-fi. I can watch it all day.
Yeah.
But you're sitting here telling me that like I was created from a bone out of somebody's side body? No. And anyway, I'll go off on a whole tangent if I get through that. But what I'm saying is like that mindset that a woman's entire purpose or that a girl child's entire purpose from the moment that she emerges into physical form is to basically be less than and to have this purpose of serving others completely robs her of her sovereignty. And I can't get behind that at all. And these Black men with these podcasts, that's essentially what they're trying to echo and what they're trying to do.
Absolutely.
So
yeah. What about you, T-Dot?
I had to think about it too, like JR. I was like, do I have a specific? Because at work, not so much. And I don't even think amongst my friends, like my male friends, I don't think so either. But I do remember a time there was a guy I went to school with, like high school with, and he graduated, went on to a historically Black male-centered college in Atlanta.
Oh, I wonder. It's so many of those. I wonder
many of those.
Which one that is.
I don't know which one. And I went to Agnes Scott, so we know that's not an HBCU at all. And we were having a discussion once I got to school, because it was like a year older than me, that, okay, so you put yourself on the chopping block to see who was going to give you the most money, kind of like a slave trade kind of thing. Like, who's going to give me the most money to go to this school?
Wow.
And that stuck me up for a little bit.
Wow.
It made me feel like, did I make the wrong decision? Second guessing like my choices, trying to see if I made the best financial decision or decision for my culture kind of thing. And it took me a while to like sift through those ideas because of that statement that he said to me. But I think that was one of those things that stood out to me about chopping me down and making me feel like I made a bad decision based on whatever.
Yeah, whatever his thoughts were. Damn, that's messed up. What about you, Kilby?
I echo the sentiments of, I don't feel like it's a one-off thing. I think it's overall the conditioning that one start with gender roles. Like I remember even back in the day of thinking about band instruments. We used to have music education. So like I didn't want a flute or a clarinet or like bells. I was like, what's that? Which was French horn. And I was like, I want to play that. And they were like, that's too big of an instrument for you. Or, like the boys play the trombones, the French horns. It was like, so it started with that, just like the condition of telling girls that grow into women of like what is for you. I think the other part is outside of gender roles is just your strive and your ambition, like JR was saying.
Yes.
It's kind of like you can't be too ambitious. Like you only have a certain ceiling, and that's where you kind of should strive in. And so I think that overall it's kind of telling women what their place in the world is versus saying the world is for women. Women are of the world. You can do whatever you want to do. Sky's the limit. Like, I know that sounds cheesy, but don't put me in a box.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think those are all
so true
examples of like how somebody made you feel it. And like with Kiwi, what you're saying, like it's not even just one story. It's like throughout
many.
Yeah, a woman's lived experience. And that's part of the reason why I wanted y'all to like think about it and talk about it. And because I knew at one point somebody was gonna say, well, it's like gender roles in general, or it's, it's not one thing I can think about, because this has lived with us for so long that we're just like, which one you want me to pick? Like
right.
Which would you like me to tell you? Because all of them contributed to how I function right now. For me, I thought about it. I have so many stories, but the one that happened to me recently was, this one even more recent than that because I stayed. But it was one where I
can't wait to hear about it.
I don't even like think about men that I don't have any type of I guess a more intimate relationship with, or like know them as far as like friendships, because I'm like, here we go with somebody's son trying to do the most or whatever. But one was like back in September when I was actually talking to someone, trying to get to know someone, and I went on a bit of a departure and talked to someone who I told myself I wouldn't, because I have requirements of a human being because I feel like they're requirements of me. But I will say this, I didn't do my normal questions that I asked. So I later found out that this human being was sharing, it was in a roommate situation. Hear me?
Yeah.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Y'all can hear me okay?
Yes.
Uh-oh, hold on. I think I can't hear y'all now at all. Hold on.
Uh-oh.
All right, can y'all hear me now?
Can you hear us?
We can hear you, but can you hear
Man,
us?
I can't hear y'all at all.
This is brought to you by Verizon.
This is how men's be working. Y'all ain't gonna, they won't even let me tell my story during Women's History Month. Y'all ain't gonna 1 second.
So call waiting. This has been brought to you by Verizon. Can you hear me now?
Good.
When I tell you I'm rolling.
Also brought to you by Women History Month. Put someone on call waiting.
Listen, it's too many black women telling the truth, and her phone was like, "We can't have that."
She's resilient. She
is.
Okay. I don't know why this whole thing just knocks me off when someone calls. Someone called my phone and it just knocked the audio totally off. Anyway, we're gonna move right back into it.
Okay, so in the future, just like do not disturb while you have your podcast time.
Yeah, that's true too.
That's your boundaries, girl. We done circled the block on that before.
Okay, I want to get through this. There's a lot to talk about. But it was talking to. And essentially, I'm not even gonna talk about his situation. But as a job, he had just at 32, he had just gotten into a good paying job. And he was excited about it. And he was telling me, like, some of my life, I actually have something that I want. I'm happy about it. It's good. And then within the time that we knew each other, he ended up getting a few clients outside of his job. So he was making money. And he was super excited about getting these clients. And I told him, I was like, I am so happy for you. This is so dope. Like, I can tell your excitement. This is amazing. I was like, we gotta go out and celebrate. That never actually happened. But anybody who knows me knows that I do like press work. So I had gotten a phone call from Yandy Smith's people about going and doing press for her for an event that she had for her stepson, which was a sweet 16th birthday party, which I will say to this day is one of my highest engagements on one of the videos that I did. Whatever, I'm just trying to up myself a little bit. Well, anyway,
on her story. Tell your
That's
story.
right.
I was talking to him about it in the way that we shared what we're doing, and he says, I mean, how in the hell do you even get an invitation like that? Like, who wants to go to a 16-year-old's birthday party? I don't really understand. And I was like, it's not that I'm attending his birthday party. I'm doing it for press for my career. And he was like, I mean, all right. And I remember just sitting there like, I don't know nothing about tech, kind of care about it, but not really in the way that you do. And I can be supportive to you and what you feel like is something good that you're doing. You getting clients, you got a job, but you can't even do the same for me based off of something that is just interesting to me. And it felt extremely belittling to me, like, oh, that ain't shit. You know, like that's nothing that you're doing, whatever. And this was a person that I was actually trying to talk to take seriously. And I was just like, to me, that was a different type of hurt, because people who don't know you, it doesn't matter. But someone who's actually trying to get to know you, you're trying to get to know them, for them to essentially be like, none of your interests matter, but mine do though. So thanks. So that was like my little story of that issue. But of course, I'm very much into social media. I'm very much into podcasting, all of these things. So I'm listening to conversations all the time. And I just keep hearing Black men using the most hurtful language about women and essentially pretty much telling us we ain't shit, despite the fact that Black women are or at one point were or still are the highest number of newer entrepreneurs, the largest number of people obtaining post-secondary education. In many regards, women, Black women are actually winning and doing better than some of our counterparts. But nothing is ever enough. Nothing is ever good enough, should I say. So let's get into this conversation about Black men and podcasting. So I wrote down podcasting for many Black men and these self-proclaimed relationship gurus is just carefree misogyny. They're allowed to distribute hate speech towards Black women and mask it as a preference, which is just a layer of protection against criticism. A few to mention, some of these repeat offenders: DJ Epidemic, two ignorant ass dudes from the Fresh and Fit podcast, which we will get into. Another two idiots from Hardly Initiated, and Mac G. And that's just like to just rattle off a few of them. So I know everybody heard, and I kind of even was thinking, should we even have a conversation about these people? But I'll get into that in a second. Fresh and Fit podcast. Did you guys hear these two guys essentially? Do y'all know who Asian Doll is?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Asian Doll is a musician.
I don't know nobody.
It's okay, I don't either. If kids don't tell me, I don't know.
Right. Same with me and Jazz.
Well, I'll just tell y'all, she's an entertainer. So she went on the Fresh and Fit podcast, and she ended up getting into it with Myron Gaines, who was half of the co-hosts on that show. And essentially, the setup was one woman was talking. I guess she had been having side conversations, and so Myron took it upon himself, as he is one of the owners of the show. He told her, he got upset with her and told her to stop talking and to stop doing. He was like, I have told you before, you need to stop talking. Having side conversations is disrespectful. And so Asian Doll was like, he mean? And so Myron got upset with Asian Doll, and Asian Doll was like, were you there? Do you know what's going on? You weren't here. You came late. You don't know what's going on. And she was like, She was like, but you rude, you nasty. And then she was like, I don't give a fuck, so she kind of went back and forth with him. He walked off and she was like, I'm gonna leave. And then this other girl was like, no, don't leave. And so then he ended up walking off and she was like, damn, he mad. And then she ended up getting her stuff and she walked off too. So after that moment, as Twitter and social media does, people were able to pull their receipts from some of the things that they had been saying. So I'm going to read a little bit. So a viral moment between the Fit and Fresh podcast and Asian Doll, when the hosts were getting into it, when everyone is now discussing verbal violence against Black women. Myron Gaines and Walter Weeks, what a fitting last name, but have a history of disrespecting Black women. When they were asked by a caller about using the dating app BLK, Gaines said, me and Fresh aren't really down with the brown, being night riders. Sometimes if they are red bone, but I mean in general, me and Fresh don't dabble in the dark. He said, I mean, bro, if you want to date a bunch of Shaniquas, go for it. After all of this happened, social media went crazy, and then they pulled up even more receipts of Weeks saying that he does not date Black women because they are ratchet, annoying, and don't know how to be reserved. Now, interestingly enough, a lot of people, including Joe Buttons, which is hilarious because he's a known colorist, but he came through.
I mean,
right?
Chronic.
I know this ain't the one to save us, but whatever. I guess he was talking about a fraction of the light skin community that he actually is like their so but he says that these two men are ignorant, they are insecure, they are weak. Nicki Minaj blasted them, and a host of other influencers, personalities, individuals came and blasted them too. I'm going to stop right here with that one and say, why do y'all think that Black men are seemingly getting away with violent, derogatory speech against Black women in podcasting spaces or social media spaces? Why do y'all think this is happening?
Clickbait. I mean, I think one part of it is clickbait is popular because people have put fuel to it. But yep. I also think that it is very authentic and honest in how they feel about Black women. But I also feel like that is tied to, I don't want to give excuse, but unresolved trauma. It mostly be they mamas. It also mostly be a dark-skinned girl was like, not that you're not less than, but you don't equate to what I need. And so now they're on this whole hating spree. Like, it's no excuse, but it definitely, I think that they use these platforms to get out their feelings and they've become bullies.
I totally agree. What do you think about that, T-Dot?
Just to piggyback off of that, I think like once you make it to, there's socially taught that you're supposed to get either a light skin or a non-Black lady too. So once you make it on your podcast, which we know just because you got a podcast just mean you disciplined enough just to have a podcast, not because you made it. You just think you can just shit on Black women. It's crazy.
Yeah, agreed. JR, what do you think about it?
I mean, I think a lot of things with this whole phenomenon, because it seems to be increasingly prevalent. You know what I mean? Like the sheer number and I think volume of Black men with these podcasts who are echoing the same rhetoric is like at an all-time high.
Yeah, I
think taking a step back and looking at the macro ecosystem here, I think that there's no better way to continue to subjugate an entire group of people than through verbal violence, right? And if you broadcast that on a massive, unending 24-hour cycle, that's the best way. Jez, when you and I had talked, I think a few days ago, I think we were talking about something similar in regards to this topic, but I was saying that you know, a lot of these men, because there are a lot of white men who have these same type of anti-womanist podcasts as well. And so this is the trend now, right? It is economically motivated, right? Because the number of likes, the number of shares, the number of views that you have, that means that there's a lot more funding, there's a lot more sponsorships that's being filtered into that. And so this is what I call the capitalist political economy of sexism, right? And misogyny, and specifically to this conversation, misogynoir. It's very bankable, right? To be able to annihilate the psyches, the characters of Black women. Like, these Black men don't own their podcasts. There's a white male figurehead at the top who owns it. And I've talked about this extensively through a lot of my previous work. Like, the Black men are the face of it, but they don't own shit. They don't own nothing. It's a white man at the helm that's pulling the strings. And these Black men, because they want to be white men so badly, they have embodied the worst, you know, character traits, the worst attributes of them, the worst aesthetic of them, because they want to be them. They want to embody them. They are seduced by this white male ethos. You know what I'm saying? And so, you know, these podcasts are just an extension of the music industry, the hip hop industry, the rap industry that has been constantly echoing misogynoir, anti-Black womanist rhetoric for the last 30 years.
Yep.
These podcasts are an extension of that. It's just that now, because of Amazon Prime, because of eBay, because of all of these other globally accessible platforms where you can purchase products to get like your microphone, your video equipment, you can, you know, purchase software really quickly. It's just that now anybody can have a podcast and echo whatever random ass thought emerges from their minds, right? At one point in time, you like a microphone and all of the other accoutrement, the equipment that comes with being able to be accoutrement. And I know a lot of Black men who have that mentality. They ain't gonna know what that word means. So that's why I said it. But at one point in time, like, number one, the cost was extremely high to be able to purchase the sound equipment, the camera equipment, all of those things that are required to be able to create a podcast or a live, you know, videotape show or any sort of multimedia space, right? And so therefore it was not easily accessible. Now people are shooting things from their phones, their laptops. You can get a like a $20 or $30 lavalier microphone. I have these, you know, little ear pods in real, you know what I mean? Like, and anybody can go live in an instant. And just because you have a podcast, it doesn't mean that you are intelligent. It doesn't mean that you've actually read books. It doesn't mean that you're a critical thinker. Like, these men go live and they are saying the most degrading, the most anti-humanist shit that they have been wanting to say for a long time. And I think that at this point, I personally believe that because it is so trendy, they do like what most non-authentically creative, outside of the box thinking people do. They see a trend, they do copy and paste because they know that this is the way that they can be seen and heard. And the more that people keep talking about it, like, I know we're talking about it now, but we're doing it in a way that I think is constructive, and that I hope will lend some type of like actionable change. But most people aren't going to do that. They're going to look at it, they're going to get pissed, and they're going to share it with a bunch of people who are going to become even more angry. You know what I mean? And then it's just going to create this massive energetic wildfire of chaos and destruction.
Right.
And, you know, at some point it does need to stop. I do believe personally that there has to be some type of measures to be put in place by these platforms
into that in just a second. I'm glad you mentioned to get into those sanctions and everything too. And just
because that's one of the things that I mentioned before too. They're saying it because it's not as easy to put someone in jail for committing a verbal
hate crime.
Yeah,
right. Because it's a verbal hate crime, right? Like these men aren't able to easily go out and to physically violate women, although, you know, there's a population that does do that. But I think that their roundabout, their way to kind of like get around, you know, doing that is to spew verbal vitriol to women, specifically Black women, because it's like it's a workaround, but also it allows them to increase their visibility and brand recognition, which is like what other way does whiteness operate? That's the epitome of whiteness, and that's what a lot of these Black men harbor. Like they're seduced by the white male.
Exactly. They love white men. Yeah.
They stroke white men's, insert whatever word you want to here.
Yeah.
They love it. Oh my God, they would bend the knee. They would bend the knee if they could.
I agree. Yeah. So much of that going on where these men are echoing the sentiments of white supremacy, and
for sure
there's no real fear, I think, clearly for them to say something like this and have anything taken away. And then I think that they have found this security in just saying, well, it's my preference, and anybody can have a preference. And my whole thing about preference is, okay, let's argue that you can be drawn to a certain aesthetic. Although I don't really think that. I think it's more conditioning. But
it's a program. They've been programmed. Yeah,
been conditioned to see certain things, particularly when it comes to those Black men, because what they like the most are European features. So you've been conditioned to that. I don't think that that's a preference. Like I said,
European features, but then they'll go and get white women or racially ambiguous women who look that way, but who act like and bite off of the cultural aesthetic of Black women. So all of this, and you know what I'm saying, all that shit that we be doing, they'll get a white woman or a racially ambiguous woman that does that kind of shit because they like, oh, she's spicy. That's cute.
Right.
But meanwhile, that's us.
Right. But they don't want to.
And then some.
Yeah, I think that these stereotypes of Black women being difficult, and we are all Black women who are in, I mean, we work too. So not only in like our personal lives, but in professional lives, we get labeled as difficult or
aggressive,
demanding, all of these negative stereotypes, these long-held generational stereotypes that have been put on Black women that a lot of these Black men continue with, and is their reasoning for not wanting to deal with us. But just like you just said, JR, but they will deal with that same thing from white women. For instance, the Week motherfucker, Walter Weeks, who is the Fresh and Fit podcast.
That's his government name now. I know it.
He says they often talk about Black women being gold diggers and all that other stuff. He met his white girlfriend on a site specifically for sugar babies. So we're not willing to.
I love it here. I love it here. I love it here.
With a Black woman,
I love it.
You have
I love it.
Criticism about a Black woman being upwardly mobile and not dealing with somebody that works part-time at AutoZone. You're gonna take those same finances to a white girl from a website where she was specifically looking for someone with money.
I love it.
Never makes sense. They reside in cognitive dissonance. Like,
for sure.
Goose is not good for the gator in their book. Like, it's constantly saying, I don't want this from this type of woman, but that's what you go straight to for another type of woman.
Yes.
Never makes sense. Ever.
It never makes sense at all. I'm gonna move forward to talking about more ridiculous rhetoric from these dark-skinned, Hewish, whatever, these Black men. So they're not just Black, dark-skinned too. They of the lighter variety too, or whatever. So let's talk about Tyson Jackson and Ryan catching this ass whooping. So Partly initiated with guest Philip Karaja. They said that they spoke about high earning women. And so a viral clip went around talking about how they said that high earning women are less attractive. Catching replied to a woman who he claims, I don't even think this actually happened, but I think he was just trying to use something. This man said, a woman said to him, I got a good job.
Yeah.
Money. He says to her, but who's gonna want you? I mean, who would honestly want you? He said that if you've achieved those things, then unfortunately you are disqualifying yourself. The guest Karaya shared his thoughts on I believe it's pronounced hypergamy or hyperme. I don't know.
Hypergamy?
Hypergamy, is that it? Hypergamy? It is when someone is marries someone of a higher social status. What's wrong with that?
Nothing, because what's interesting is that all of these very ancient texts, including the biblical texts, the Quran, any other spiritual texts, but also all of these books that have been created and published, I would argue and say for the last 800 years have always told women that's what it means to be a higher virtuous woman, to get to climb the social ladder, to get a man of nobility, to get a man of higher, socioeconomic status, right? So that you can also achieve those things as well, right? Because hey, this is what they've been saying since the dawn of time. A woman is nothing without a man in her life. Is that not? I know I'm kind of condensing it down a little bit, but that's basically what it is. Our job is here, or our job here is to serve these men, and our value is whatever man that we get. So why would you get some bum grimy ass dude who doesn't have anything? That means you ain't gonna have nothing too. By that logic. And that's
as kids.
You know what I mean, right?
And that's the premise behind courting. If you look at
exactly
today, they're like, your suitor is the person that courted you the best. So you're not going to choose the bottom of the barrel.
When I was looking up, or when I was looking at what he said about people who marry someone of a higher social status, I was like, isn't hypergamy what traditional marriage is? Traditional, honestly, when people talk about marriage is literally for people who have money to keep wealth inside of their families.
That's literally what it is.
For broke motherfuckers. Y'all have romanticized it and turned it.
They have.
I'm gonna marry your ass because I love you, but that really, in traditional marriage, love had nothing to do with it. It was all about securing finances for the
all about it.
But that's why they had to ask your dad.
Yeah,
exactly.
For your hand in marriage, and your dad agreed based on knowing
their money.
How he took care of you is how the future man is supposed to take care of you.
Exactly.
So when these men be like, oh, you asking for too much, you doing this, and it's like, no, my daddy or a male figure in my life provided these things. Exactly. So that is the standard. That is the baseline. That is the barometer that I measure things by. So if you cannot pay for the bills in the house, if you cannot at least be stable, that is the problem. And I don't want that. I think these black men, and I'm not even just gonna say black men, males in general want women to suffer and be in the ghetto-ness with them. That is not how it's supposed to be. And a lot of us, I know that they talk about how black men aren't there and whatnot, but a lot of us did not grow up like that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and I agree with you, Kilby. I do think that the general consensus is that black women are supposed to suffer with men, suffer in lower economic standing. And don't you dare tell someone, well, I can't talk to somebody who makes that amount. We're not the same. We can't have real lives together, not the life that I envision for myself. And this is coming from women who actually have the same thing too, or some women who want to play that traditional role of take care of the house and the home. But it is your responsibility to provide and protect for the family, if that's what y'all want. But moving right along, going back to this hardly initiated podcast, one of the co-hosts, Jackson, said that spoke about these masculine roles, and I want y'all's take on this masculine and feminine conversation these people love to have. But he said that society was not designed for women to take a dominant role, and that he says that these women are generally happier when they are feminine. What do y'all think about these constant conversations between what is feminine and what is masculine, and people telling women the conversation is, if you have a job and if you are a high earning woman, that is a masculine role, and because of that you are disqualifying yourself from having love or seeking a partner because he can't do anything for you because you are actually a man yourself.
I was gonna say, if you read this is the problem with people not being subject matter experts or reading.
Yes.
Literally what I was, girl.
Outside of their ass. So if you look at war, let's just look at war, right? Let's look at what's going on in Ukraine. All of the men have to stay back.
Mm-hmm.
So that means that women have to go and step up in other roles.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
They just confine themselves in what a woman is supposed to do. How is other shit gonna happen?
Right.
If you don't know how to pay bills because you weren't supposed to, that's not a feminine trait, paying bills.
Right.
You ain't paying no bill because your man ain't there.
Exactly.
Right.
The world does not stop when men have to either go to war or have to be a part of other things that society's like, oh, well, women aren't fit to go do it. The house has to still get taken care of. Wood got to get chopped when people ain't have electricity and luxuries that we have today. Like, that's how women evolve. So when people, and we got to actually evolve humanity. A man is not sitting here having babies.
Mm-hmm.
So it's literally like, how can you confine a woman in a box when we're always the ones that have to step up in every situation?
Right.
Every single situation, a woman has to step up.
Yeah, and I'm just trying to figure out why. Like, I hear a lot of men saying, you know, these women don't want to be traditional. They don't want to do all of this. It worked with our grandparents, and I'm like, why apply antiquated rules to modern people? We don't function in those ways anymore. Like, first of all,
you asking a lot of people who
I know
who I mean, and I tell you this all the time.
Yeah, we talk about this. Yeah,
they're not thinking that deeply. They're not thinking,
and that's the
you know
that's
the issue.
Yeah,
is that they don't think.
You can't go back to in my opinion. If you go back to a traditional way of living, we're not evolving. So we're not going to be in competition with everybody else. Y'all are trying to have this black man hierarchy and liberation, and that does not exist. Black men are not inherently the first people to stand in line and should be offered any type of liberation simply because you have a penis. How are we going to protect ourselves and each other if you say you are the first person who should get some type of freedoms, and then I have to wait for you? Well, when is your freedom gonna come, and how long do I have to suffer and wait for you to even get your freedom? That doesn't even make any damn sense. We are literally struggling with a lot of things, and y'all demanding women to lower themselves, to dim themselves, so y'all can have some type of power that y'all never even had from the beginning. Like, it's not. I've been hearing so many black men say that it is a black woman's. It is her to. We need to blame black women for what is happening with the black community. And I'm like, well, if y'all were leaders, protectors, and providers, then how in the hell did y'all run this ship all the way? Why did you crash the ship? If y'all have been leaders for so long, clearly you don't know what you're doing. And the fact that black women are the leading number of, as I said before, entrepreneurs, entrepreneurs, and women obtaining post-secondary education. Now, let me stop right there and say some of the degrees we getting ain't worth a damn. So y'all we gotta work on that. But hopefully the next generation, we're seeing the stuff that we've gone through, the next generation will get it together. But if black women are doing this, and we are trying to help out and fix some of the things in the community, why can't y'all be in collaboration instead of trying to dim us or tell us that we're doing the wrong thing and that we're being masculine because I gotta work?
Because it's easier to point the finger at someone else and create a villain than it is to hold yourself accountable.
100%.
But
It's much easier to do that, you know. And I would the next time a man asks you all that question, or proposes that statement about, you know, Black women don't want to be quote unquote traditional anymore, then I would say to run that question back to him, play it back to him and say, okay, do you want to be a slave again? Do you want to have a white man to tell you what to do? And do you want to go work in the fields, and do you want to get your ass whooped? Because if you really want to be traditional here within this country, that's kind of like one of the starting points of
yes.
Yeah, seriously. You know what I mean? Like, and just watch these men disintegrate into the nothingness that they are. Because like, I mean, I cannot understand someone who has that type of mentality, other than them wanting to preserve the illusion of control that they so clearly do not have. Yeah. And that's really what that whole thing is about, right? Like, it's this fantasy of control. It's this illusion of being able to dominate another human being, but that in and of itself is a signifier of complete and total weakness. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's they don't own shit. You know,
they don't own anything,
and so they're looking at what they could potentially own. And it's not even the physical way of taking it; it's the psychological abuse. Now, I think
exactly
a lot of these men have where they go on podcasts, or they go put their cameras in their faces and they distribute this anti-Black woman rhetoric.
Yeah.
When it comes to this conversation that we were just having about Tyson Jackson and Ryan Ketchum in their podcast, Hardly Initiated, have y'all ever felt discriminated against in the dating space because you are a high earning woman?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think it goes to control. And like for me, I'm gonna say this. I was institutionally educated, meaning I wanted to go to college, one, because my family expected it, but also I felt like that was one of those toll gates that you had to pass to be successful.
Right.
However, I do not feel like you have to institutionally be educated. There is other ways that you can 100%. Be educated and have value, as well as I feel like people have value that you bring into a relationship fiscally outside of just having a good job. So you could be a Renaissance man, you could change tires, you could fix plumbing, you could do electrical work. So those are the things of the value. Yeah. However, men are conditioned that money rules everything. And so when they approach me, they're like, oh, you must want a man who does this and take you on vacation, da, da, da. Those are nice, but that's not my value system.
Right.
And so I first have to get through that red tape of trying to prove that my value system is different and it's not about money. But then the other part of it is I feel like there's some jealousy when I could do stuff that I want to do, when I want to do it, how I want to do it. If I want to drop a couple of $1,000 for a vacation, I'm going to do it.
Right.
And I don't have to really plan. I tell my work, not going to be here this day to this day, put my out of office notice, and I'm gone. But I feel like some men in general don't understand that because they're not in those situations, and it's jealousy. And or if I'm not asking you for something, I feel like they feel less than. And
for sure.
No, again, my value system is this. My love language is this. I don't need you to give me stuff. Absolutely. That's not important because I could do that for myself.
Yeah, and I think that's where, like you were talking about, that jealousy comes in, and they're I can't do nothing for you. And then it's the insecurity as well. That's a portion of it too. T-Dot, real quick, you're in a relationship with a Black man, so we know some good ones exist. Okay, so I just want, I feel like we always gotta have a conversation like we're not talking about all black men.
Not all of them.
Right.
I don't think we need to.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to. Just like we as black people don't need to say not all white people. Like,
right.
I don't think that we need to edit ourselves like that. As a matter of fact, I'm tired.
But this is the level of protection I'm trying to have on here for anybody who comes on.
Man, fuck all that. in my Gemini voice, fuck all of that. In real life. But go, yeah, girl. But go ahead. Let's hear about your boo.
See, like, you're in a relationship with a black man, and like we know that. Do you play into gender roles in your relationship, or are you like hell no? Or what does that even mean to you?
Honestly, I don't think he cares. We do couples counseling, right?
Yeah.
And so maybe 2 weeks ago, so our counselor asked us this question about like our gender roles and whatever. We really don't have gender roles like that, but we also learned that we both grew up in a 2-parent household, and our parents didn't do that either. It was like, you cook, I cook. It's whatever works that damn day. It's not you cook all the time and I do the yard all the time. Now, my daddy did like being in the yard, so he did that, but it wasn't because I'm a man. It was like,
that's what he likes.
Like being outside and dirty, whatever. But my mom would get on the grill, and black men in their grill.
Right.
That's the thing. But my mom liked the grill, and so she grilled it up and stuff. So in our house, like now, I'll cook, he'll cook. I'll take out trash if I feel like carrying it down 3 flights of steps.
You do what he does. Yeah.
And even like money wise, I think we kind of are similar about the money, and we kind of make probably about the same amount too. But we don't care about like you make more money, I make more money.
Yeah.
If I get a step increase and I make more money than you this month, don't say nothing about these shoes I'm about to buy.
Right.
I won't say nothing about the shoes you about to buy. And I think we're kind of fair in the whole like we're doing things to make our partnership work and not doing things because that's what society told us to do.
Right.
Exactly.
I wish you had like a little word like bingo that popped up, because that partnership word is it. A lot of people you get in relationships and it's one dominant person and one submissive person. It is a partnership.
Agreed.
Because we all know through COVID, we all know through just living life, and in corporate world, we have this thing called about a hit by the bus factor. Life could change at any
yeah.
So somebody could become disabled, somebody could lose their job. So when you go into that ideology that one person is dominant and the other person is submissive, if you're dominant, something happens to your dominant, then what? The whole household's supposed to fall?
Yeah.
And so people don't understand it's a partnership. It's not
exactly
over the other. Yes, men are conditioned to be the leader, but that a leader does not necessarily mean that you're running people. Like you're just giving direction.
You can't own anybody. You just shouldn't feel like you own anybody. He is his own person. I'm my own person, and we've decided to be in this partnership, but he don't belong to me. And I don't belong to him.
Exactly. And I think that right there is really hitting the nail on the head, is about this concept of ownership. And that's what these men who get on these podcasts or create these podcasts, who echo that message. They want to be able to own women. They want to be able to own their bodies. And that's just a mere extension of the overall mindset and the culture and the energy right here in this fucking country, right? Like, the United States government is finding ways and trying to pass laws, and actually has enacted laws to be able to continue to have ownership over women's bodies, right? And to try and tell us, what we can do, what we can't do, what we should not do when it comes to our sexual health, our reproductive health, and just with our basic general health, just in general. And so these men, a part of their, I would even say a step above conditioning, is like hypnotism. I think a lot of people have been and are continuing to be chronically hypnotized by these colonial messages. That's really what it is. It's a form of colonialism, and it's so vastly destructive. But they don't see it as being that. They want to use this term that you used before, Jazz, called preference.
Right.
I really wish that people would educate themselves a lot more and really research these terms that they are constantly using, you know, and how they're applying it, because you can't have a quote unquote preference in regards to people that you claim you're attracted to if you've already been predisposed and hypnotized to say that, oh, this is beautiful. Exactly. This is, you know, what I am sexually attracted to, or there's no such thing. And that's just a form, that's an extension of like the marketing industry. You know what I mean? Like these folks are being held hostage within their minds and their consciousness, and they don't even know it. And it's really destructive. And when you, going back to T-Dot, when you use that term partnership in a relationship, they crumble. They have no idea what you're talking about. They've never seen it. They've never come close to it. And even that that mindset or that representation of a partnership means that they have to be aligned with someone, walk hand in hand with someone, not tell someone what to do, you know, and you have to actually work with someone, which
they don't want to do.
They can't. They don't want to do that.
They can't. They don't know how.
Yeah.
It's literally like they don't have the capacity to do it, which is
if something is being beneath you, why would you want to be equal to it? And that, I think, is the way you to them. You're beneath me. I don't have to collaborate with you. I don't have to be in a partnership with you. You just do what I tell you to do. And if you can't, it's because you're attitudinal and you stink and all this other negative stuff about Black women.
Which is funny, because if they made a blanket rule that women could not own houses or have like certain physical things, a lot of Black men gonna be homeless because they live in Black women's houses. A lot of men get upset because they be living in somebody's house and she be telling you, nah, you can't do this in my house, or because both of y'all couldn't qualify because your credit jacked up,
right?
Her name is on the house and y'all had to do another sub thing. Like, it's like, bruh, y'all need to be realistic of where you are in this life.
Yeah, 100%.
Or maybe they know that and it's scaring the shit out of them. So they're like, oh, let's hurry up and scramble to see how we can, you know, chop these women down even more. Maybe they do know that.
It's like another way of like psychologically abusing women.
Exactly.
Like, I have known so many women, and I have a friend who allowed this man to move in with her, was using her car. She was making more money than him. A job, like she had a job, you know, career and a part-time, her own entrepreneur gig on the side. This man was working at a warehouse.
Ain't no fucking way. I'm sorry. Ain't no way.
I was cracking up because y'all remember that meme that was going around talking about you know, it's a dude of an AKA because he be driving her Nissan with
come on, Eastern Star dude.
Yeah.
And we see it all the time, where these men have been able to psychologically abuse these women into saying, you need me. And the need is, I don't have nothing that you have. Okay, my job isn't as good as yours. You make more money than me. I actually live with you. I drive your car, but you need me because you need a man. And I'm going to come into your house. I'm not going to cook or clean. I'm going to just take out the trash. And you're going to be fine with it.
Ain't no fucking way.
Because so many women have been beaten down by this rhetoric of these ignorant ass men on these airwaves. They hold it to be true. And they say, well, it must be an issue with me because maybe I do need him. Meanwhile, you done organized your entire damn life, got a job on your own, secure, your name is on the lease, you got your car is in your name, but you need him.
It's a scare tactic. It's a scare tactic.
I was gonna say also, on the other side, we've also conditioned some women that this is acceptable, and they on podcasts and being like, they be men. And I attribute that to similar to like white feminism as well.
Right.
You're helping not elevate women, but you're pushing the same narrative
Yep.
that men are doing. Like, so you're basically assimilated to that toxic male culture as a woman. So it is women out there also pushing that narrative, and then they're the face of telling, you know, men being like, well, she agreed with this, and it's
Right.
like, she wrong as hell, she dumb as hell as you. Like,
Exactly.
Yep.
That's your helpmate in this podcasting space. So yeah.
Yep.
That's
such a good point.
Yeah. Let me ask y'all this. In this whole world cancel culture and people saying no, people should have the right to say what they want to say, what they need to say. Do y'all think that this type of speech, there should be, I guess, should they be sanctioned for this actually being like violent speech or hate crime speech? Because it is specifically towards like women, gender, and race, Black women. Do you think it should be sanctioned? Do you think it should be like, you can't say that? And if you do, that you should have some type of fine, or you should just be thrown off the air? Or what do y'all think should happen when these men are distributing this hate speech towards Black women?
Right, that's hard.
That got a lot of layers to it, right?
Yeah,
it does.
I'm for free speech. I am.
me
But
too.
I feel like the conversation has to be constructive. So if you feel this way, what's the next steps? What's your end game? What's your end result? Like, you saying you don't like Black women, what's your end result? How, if Black women are so horrible, including your mama and your daughters, like,
Right.
what?
The
what
first one with the Black lady, not the last one.
What do you think should happen to improve your experience with Black women? Is it a conversation where y'all have candid conversation and break down the barriers? Or is it still going to be a villain and you like the superhero saving hoes all around the world that are not Black? Like, what does your end game look like? Like, it has to be an end game. Like, all of these podcasts spewing out just hatred. What is your end game of this? Because you are birthing Black daughters because you're a Black man. So you don't have you can't say how your daughter's gonna come out. So she might come out dark skinned and see all this other crazy stuff that you've said. So where does it stop? Like, where does it stop? And what's the end game of it?
Exactly. J.R. Baker, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, so if we start talking about like creating sanctions, then that's going to get into the whole conversation of censorship,
right?
From a large institutional, governmental, state level, type of position, which I personally think there is space to create amendments to the laws to be able to develop that. I think that it has to be done in a way that is not going to create even more mass level tyranny where people just can't say anything now, and to become a nation state like China, for example, or like Russia, what they are right now, right? Like having that sort of communist, type of approach to things where we're not going to be able. Right. We can't speak ill against, the government. We can't say certain words, or we won't even be able to stream certain types of film or television programs. Right. Because the government deems it so.
Right.
At the same time, I do think that greater attention does need to be placed into the way that words and language create genocide. And you know what I mean? And like, I mean, y'all know, I have talked about this pretty extensively in my book, Breaking Bitch, Dismantling the Lies to Reclaim Your Truth, my web series that I did a few years ago. Like, words and thoughts are energy. Energy constructs matter. And matter, as we know it, like, we're physical matter. Like, we live in a realm in the third dimension that is constructed of matter. This is quantum physics. When you say certain words that have a certain energy or intention behind it, you create a reality. And when you use these terms like Black women are insert negative word here, you're creating this constant construct where there's this violence there are all these attacks against Black women. There are these stereotypes against Black women, which are then perpetuated into these really gross depictions of Black women in media, visual media, auditory media, like all these things that are happening. And our community, our world is suffering as a result of it. And I mean, the birth rate is already declining significantly, which there's a lot of speculation around that. But I think that what is going to continue to happen is that the birth rate within our community is also going to continue to decline in, I'll say, in conventional cisgender heterosexual dynamics.
Right.
Because the more that Black women are continuing to educate ourselves, not just in institutionalized or traditional forms of education, but like stepping away from that and educating ourselves on a psychic, spiritual, and like embodiment type of level, we're not going to be dealing with men like that. Like, we're not going to have the emotional or energetic capacity to even want to have them in our space like that, right? Especially men who
right now.
It's happening right now.
Are opting out of.
I mean, I know I have. Like, I don't, and I've done that. I've done it a few times in my 38 years, or not the whole 38 years was I dating men, but I'll say from the age of 17 until like now, I've done that at least 4 times where I've said I can't, I have to like shut myself off from this energy and just, I can't deal with it. And I am definitely in that place right now because I don't see the benefit of it. There's no investment to it.
Yeah.
I invest my energy, I invest my time, I invest my money in things that are going to give back to me triple, quadruple, tenfold. And males, cisgender heterosexual males, they're not it. And so, I mean, so for Black women who do want children, who do want the traditional, household, marriage, partnership, children, that type of thing, I think that more Black women are going to honestly either adopt or have children on their own. That's what I just feel. I mean, you and I talk about it. Yeah, that's what I feel like is that's what I feel like is going to happen. And I mean, the men are using these fear tactics because it's the only way that they feel like they can try to, control women. But I do, going back to the original question, Jazz, I do think that sanctions do need to be put in place, but I don't think that it will happen.
Yeah, it'll be difficult. Tita, I want to get your perspective on that too. I know we're running out of time, but I do want to hear what you have to say on that one.
Oh, sure. I agree that something should happen. I probably don't trust the government enough to do such.
And I agree with you.
But I do think like there has to be people to step up to help the Black woman in this space, and I think that's other Black men talking to these
terrorists.
Black. Okay, we go terrorist Black men and having discussions. Just be like, yo, don't do this to the Black women. Somebody to cap for us, like people should cap for cap. So I think it should definitely come down to the Black community, helping the Black community and sticking up for, if y'all want to be the leader, this is where you step up and be like, no, that's sis, that's mom, that's auntie, that's whoever. And if that's your preference, so-called, based on what you were socialized by your parents and by society, whatever, that you want to a person look this certain way, maybe cool, whatever, we don't care. But don't do that to this Black woman or these Black women, period.
Exactly. Yeah. Leave us out of it. That's it. Yeah.
I totally agree with that.
I think
it's so crazy because Black women, me and Twanda, T-Dot, experienced this just last weekend. So like we were having brunch and this Black man ran into this Black lady's car and she was our hostess. Like, so she was working. He ran into her car. He definitely had them bottomless mimosas. So when she found out, like he went into the establishment, was like, I hit somebody's car. She was like, oh, that's my car. She basically just asked him for the insurance. This fool literally tried to blame her for him running into her car. He was like, your car is black. When I tell you it was daytime, he was like, why is your car black and you parked there? You literally walked out the establishment.
I can't.
Walked out the establishment.
Passed by the car.
You saw the car. You passed it. You got in the car and you hit her car. So he did not want to give his insurance. He was like, I'm going to just call the police. And everybody else looking like, this
you go get
literally just have bottomless mimosas.
Right.
And you done hit somebody's car. And all she's asking, don't get the police involved because we know how that escalates. And you literally are giving her a hard time. You're blaming her for the situation. And I'm like, just in that instance, it's just constant blaming Black women for your mistakes, for your downfalls of things that have nothing to do with them, that you cause the effect on your own self. And even in that moment, she tried to protect you with not including the police. And you're just like, it's your fault, and getting all snazzy and sassy. And it's just like, wow. Why is it like that? Like, literally, how and why are we constantly trying to protect Black men?
That's a great question.
Yeah, that is another one. And one that I have been thinking about too is, I was like, a lot of them don't even like us, and they would never extend the same type of protection to us. And I just,
not at all.
So that's why I made the decision to stop. I'm like, you gonna have to prove to me you worth it. But yeah, I was just like, what's the point of protecting y'all anymore when the second that y'all get an opportunity, y'all will disrespect the entire hell out of us, or your support of us is conditional. You know, it was if you think that we're virginal enough to be protected from any type of sexual whatever, if you think that we look a certain type of way, it's all conditions based around your protection of us, when we literally heard that you got a knee on your neck and we out here protesting for your ass. Like, we didn't need to know nothing about you other than the fact that you Black and needed us, and we out there. And then I was just like, yeah, I'm not doing this anymore. Not doing it.
And I think that I think we have to get to that place where it's just like, it's about self-preservation at this point. You get what I mean? Like, we have to preserve our lives because no one else is going to do it for us but us. That's it. Like, I cannot expel any more of my vital life force into anything that is not going to support me. I simply don't have the bandwidth to do it. And I'm not gonna make like space in my life or space in my org field to do that. I'm just not gonna do it. So like, the clips that you ran off before, Jazz, with these Black men in these podcasts, I've never known their names, but I've seen the clips because of TikTok. TikTok is like amazing. I love it because that's pretty much like my news cycle a little bit. It keeps me up to date on all the BS in the world. But I don't get angry about that stuff. I listen to it. I detach myself from it and I keep it moving. If I were to have a conversation with any males or Black males in particular who start to, echo those types of sentiments or whatever, I'm leaving because I have the ability to. Absolutely. Like, I'm not going to entertain you. I'm not going to engage with you because it's clear and it's so apparent that these men are thirsty for attention. And you have to deprive them of that. It's almost like if you don't say the name Voldemort doesn't exist. You know what I mean? Like, it's this mythological, scary, no-nose, face having ass, like thing, and you don't acknowledge it. It's just like, okay, it'll just go away. And that's how I think we have to start treating these really destructive forces, specifically these Black men having these podcasts, and completely preserve ourselves. Like, don't give them any more of your energy at all. Redirect all your life force into yourself and into what you're doing to better yourself and to better this planet and the environment, and leave it at that.
100%.
Yeah, and they know who to try though, because you saw how they tried Brittany Renner, and then she gave them all types of business, but then they tried to reduce her down to being a hoe. And I'm like, nah, her wholeness has nothing to do with she giving y'all the business on y'all dumbass ideology.
What?
Like, she read them to filth. She was like, so
Sure
you
did.
said that, and it makes you feel like what?
Yeah, she got them together. She did very, very good with, well, what does that do for you? You know, what does it do for you? She was like, y'all's your lame name of the show, like y'all are forgettable. Like what? She read them. But yeah, like,
and that's what you got to do.
I was gonna say, I think that's what we all should do. Like when you run into a colonnaker, take the time to let these colonnakers know. Yeah, we know. Say your piece, and then you move on with your life. I know it's time for us to go ahead and end the show. I think we've had such a great conversation. It's so much more to talk about, but we ain't got that time. So my last take is, I want all Black women to go where you're celebrated and not where you're tolerated. I think that we forget. No, we don't. I think it's that they forget that just like they have options, so do we. So I'm gonna leave it like that. Black women, y'all can interpret it how y'all want to, but it's no reason to have a life alone.
Because everybody got male parts. I could say that.
Yeah.
It's other people who were colonized too, and it's a mixture of Black people in there. So
Yes, Kills, give us your final take.
So my final take is, one, I do love Black men. I do. All of y'all are not bad. Y'all are not monolith. I'm gonna say that.
Right.
The second part of that is, nobody's going to be tolerating your brokenness, your trauma, your backhanded comments, your dimming down my lights. Like, I am constantly going to evolve because that's what I'm here to do. And I think that we have to break down stereotypes. And for those bad Black men, I feel like y'all have to stop trying to compete with white men, because what you're doing is assimilating to a toxic culture that is never going to benefit you, and you're not going to get any reward from that.
100%. 100%. T-Dot, you want to give us your final review of the conversation?
Whew. I mean, we talked about a lot of good stuff. It's kind of reminiscent, I guess, of like those, like slavery back in the day, and then the white overseer and those indentured servants who thought that they were just better than Black people.
Right.
Y'all were still indentured servants, and just understanding that what y'all said earlier, you not the white man. Stop trying to kind of be the white man, and understand that we are a community. Like, there is a Black community, and we not your competition. You won't have to beat us up for you to be better, for you to be great. Everybody has their own world and essence. And so be you,
right?
But don't beat us up.
In the process. Agreed. J.R. Baker Flowers, what's your take on it?
It's so much to say, but I'll just say one thing. Just be free.
That's it.
Just be free. Because to embody and to hold and to be possessed by these very toxic, destructive thoughts and ideologies, and that they also put into like their daily practices, is to be enslaved. Period.
Yeah.
It's to be held hostage by thoughts that are actually not your own. It's a program, and you can dislodge and deprogram yourself from it.
Yeah.
And so just be free. And that goes for everybody. Black men, Black women, white people, Asians, Latinos, gender non-conforming, like literally everybody. Like just be free.
Absolutely. Well, listen, I have had an amazing time, and I was so happy to be the one leading this conversation as a strong and independent Black woman. And I put that name on there because I knew it was gonna tear some people up. I was like,
they sick.
Yeah, I was like,
they throwing up right now.
Like, strong and independent Black woman. That's why you ain't got no man. You're right.
Yeah, the girl, they got the bubble guts right now looking at that title. They like, oh, she get over there.
Y'all know I'm a troll everybody.
You do.
But yes, this was a great conversation. I hope anybody that's listening, I hope y'all got something from it. I hope y'all can chime in. Let us know what y'all think about this. J.R. Baker Flowers, why don't you give everybody your socials?
Oh, sure. Thank y'all again so much for having me. This was a wonderful conversation, and it's good to see all of y'all's beautiful faces. So you all can follow me at J.R. Baker Flowers on Instagram. You can also follow me at The Unlearning Project, all lower caps or lowercase on Instagram as well. And yeah, that's it. That's where you can follow me.
Good. Well, thank y'all. Everybody's been amazing. And y'all have a great rest of the evening.
You too. Bye, ladies.
Bye.